June 12, 2025, will forever be etched in the annals of aviation history as a day of profound sorrow. On that fateful day, Air India Flight AI-171, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, took off from Ahmedabad International Airport bound for Bengaluru at 6:50 p.m. local time. But within a span of just 30 seconds, the unthinkable happened. The plane lost lift, plummeted to the ground, and tragically lost its life. There were 241 people on board the flight and at least 38 people on the ground who also lost their lives. But how did such a modern and technologically advanced plane as the Boeing 787 Dreamliner suddenly lose lift just after takeoff? This question has been echoing around the world since the accident occurred. And although authorities have yet to release an official statement regarding the cause of the incident, various sources are providing clues as to what might have gone wrong. One such source is a report from Simple Flying, which suggests that Flight AI-171 was flying towards the southeast when it sent out a mayday call stating, quote, "We have lost lift." Before going out of contact with air traffic control, these chilling words indicate that the crew experienced a sudden and unexpected loss of lift shortly after takeoff. As the plane began to plummet towards the ground, the pilots desperately tried to regain control, but to no avail. The aircraft impacted the ground at a speed of 350 knots, according to the Wall Street Journal, leaving behind a trail of devastation in its wake. So, what could have possibly caused such a modern plane to suddenly lose lift and ultimately crash? Now, before we delve into the possible reasons behind this catastrophic event, let's take a closer look at the ill-fated flight itself. According to Flight Radar 24, the flight originated from SFO International Airport where it had made a stopover. During its journey from SFO to Ahmedabad, the 787 reportedly flew over Pakistani airspace, prompting Pakistani authorities to scramble 2 Air Force jets to intercept the flight. However, the jets reportedly returned to base without any further incident occurring. Upon arrival in Ahmedabad, the pilots of Flight 171 requested a straight-in approach to runway 27, and after obtaining clearance, initiated the approach. The plane landed on the runway at around 5:59 p.m. local time, and the pilot reported that they had engine anti-ice engaged. After coming to a stop, the pilots shut down both engines and the flight was cleared to taxi to the gate at around 6:18 p.m. Moments later, the pilots reported that they were ready for takeoff and the plane was cleared for takeoff from runway 27 at 6:50 p.m. As the pilots acknowledged the clearance, they said, quote, "Ready for takeoff," indicating that they had carried out the necessary checks and preparations for takeoff. The controllers then gave them a heading of 60 degrees and asked them to climb to 35,000 feet. At 6:50 p.m., the pilots reported that they had taken off. But tragedy struck just 30 seconds later as the pilots reported that they had lost lift and the plane went down. While the immediate aftermath of the crash was devastating, there was a glimmer of hope as rescue workers discovered that one passenger had miraculously survived the crash. This serves as a beacon of hope in the face of such a catastrophic event. Rescuers rushed to the scene, and the sole survivor was transported to a nearby hospital, where medical experts are working tirelessly to save her life. The survivor's identity remains undisclosed at this time, and details about how he managed to escape the wreckage are still unknown. Nevertheless, her survival is nothing short of a miracle and offers a glimmer of hope in the midst of this tragedy. The news of the Air India Express flight crash sent shockwaves across the nation and the world. The last time a Boeing 787 Dreamliner was involved in a fatal accident was in February 2016 when Ethiopian Airlines Flight 401 crashed, killing 125 people. Since then, stringent measures have been taken to enhance aviation safety and prevent such incidents from occurring. In light of this recent tragedy, there are renewed calls for grounding all 787s pending an investigation to determine the cause of the crash. But what makes the story even more heart-wrenching is the human element. Among the passengers on board were not only families and individuals with bright futures ahead of them, but also a group of 22 students who were returning home after attending a training program in Gujarat. It's a tragic loss of life that touches the hearts of many. Now let's discuss some of the possible reasons why the Air India Express flight lost lift and ultimately crashed. One factor that could have contributed to the crash is a bird strike. Bird strikes can occur during various stages of flight, including takeoff, cruise, and landing. When a plane collides with a bird during takeoff, it can result in the ingestion of the bird into the engine, causing a sudden loss of thrust. This can be particularly dangerous during the takeoff phase when the aircraft requires maximum power to gain altitude and momentum. If a bird strike occurs at a critical moment, it can cause the plane to lose lift and ultimately crash. The severity of the damage depends on various factors, including the size of the bird, the speed of the aircraft, and the location of the impact. In the case of the Air India Express flight, it is possible that a bird strike could have occurred during the takeoff roll, causing the plane to lose thrust and subsequently crash. However, this is just one potential cause, and further investigation is needed to determine the actual reason behind the accident. Another possible reason for the crash is a mechanical failure. Mechanical failures can occur in various components of an aircraft, including the engines, wings, control surfaces, and landing gear. A malfunction in any of these components can compromise the structural integrity of the plane, leading to a loss of lift and a subsequent crash. In the case of the Air India Express flight, it is possible that a mechanical failure in the wings or control surfaces could have caused the plane to lose lift during takeoff. However, it is also possible that the mechanical failure could have affected the engines, leading to a loss of power and thrust. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is a relatively new and advanced aircraft, but even modern planes are susceptible to mechanical failures. Therefore, a thorough investigation of the wreckage will be necessary to determine if a mechanical failure was a contributing factor in the crash. And let's talk about pilot error. Pilot error is another potential cause of the crash. Human error can occur due to various factors, including lack of experience, fatigue, or improper judgment. In the case of the Air India Express flight, it is possible that pilot error played a role in the crash. However, it is important to note that pilot error is relatively rare in aviation accidents, especially in modern aircraft. The pilots of the Air India Express flight would have undergone rigorous training and would have been qualified to operate the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Additionally, the airline would have implemented procedures to ensure that pilots were well rested and capable of operating the aircraft safely. However, despite these precautions, pilot error cannot be completely ruled out as a potential cause of the crash. You know, a lot of questions are being raised about India's aviation safety record in the wake of the Air India Express flight crash. India has a large and growing aviation industry that has seen significant growth in recent years. The country is home to several low-cost airlines and has become a major hub for international airlines. However, despite this growth, concerns have been raised about the safety of India's aviation industry. The crash of Air India Express flight is the first fatal accident in India since 2010. But prior to this incident, there have been several close calls and incidents that have raised concerns about the safety of India's aviation industry. For example, in 2013, an Air India Express flight overshot the runway at Mangaluru International Airport in heavy rain, killing 8 people on the ground. In 2015, a SpiceJet flight caught fire at Goa International Airport after it skidded off the runway. These incidents, along with others, have raised concerns about the safety of India's aviation industry and the measures being taken to ensure the safety of air travelers. As India's aviation industry continues to grow, it is essential that the government and aviation authorities take proactive steps to ensure the safety of air travelers. This includes investing in infrastructure, implementing strict safety measures, and ensuring that airlines and pilots are properly trained and certified. By taking these steps, India can continue to grow its aviation industry while ensuring the safety of its citizens and visitors alike. This horrific accident raises crucial questions about aviation safety and oversight. Many are calling for a thorough investigation to determine the root cause of this disaster. Some are even advocating for a temporary grounding of the 787 until its safety can be definitively established. The global aviation community is shaken and unified in its commitment to preventing such tragedies. Aviation authorities worldwide are reviewing safety protocols and sharing best practices to minimize risks. Support is pouring in for the affected families and survivors, emphasizing the human toll of this disaster. As the investigation progresses, the world waits for answers, determined to learn from this tragedy and enhance aviation safety. If you want concise, real-time updates on aviation disasters, geopolitical events, and trending news, hit subscribe and tap the bell for more. Follow Trendy Freak for your daily quick fix. Raw facts, fast. Thanks for watching.